Vince wanted to go against AEW, and then at that point, Vince was being more hands-on, and Kevin Dunn were more hands-on with NXT, and it kind of pulled Triple H away from it.
Next, we're shooting from the hip. So Triple H told Ariel Helwani the following about AEW versus NXT. He says, first of all, they beat our developmental system. Good for them. So basically, he says that he basically downplays AEW to say, hey, so NXT is a developmental system. They beat us. Now they're, very happy that they beat our farm system, basically. So with that, Vince Russo, do you agree with Triple H's take on how AEW should be portrayed as far as beating NXT in the Wednesday Night Wars?
Yeah, bro, but I think it's a bigger picture than that, and he's 1000% correct. And NXT was never meant to be a promotion onto itself on television. It all came up through the negotiations with the USA Network. But with that being said, bro, if I'm the president of the USA Network and your NXT is on my network, do I really want you describing it as a
play it like that?
You know what I'm saying, bro? You gotta now. I know probably Triple H didn't have time to think the answer through. He was kind of caught off guard, so he kind of fired back. But if I'm USA Network, I'm like, bro, you're on our network. You really want to promote yourself as being a developmental. That's like showing AAA baseball. You know, I mean, you got to think about those things, bro. You really have to think about those things.
You know what, though? I'm a big fan of the major leagues, but if ESPN2 threw on the Savannah Bananas game, I'm probably going to watch it and not feel bad about it and just feel like I'm seeing inferior talent as much as it's a different presentation.
Yeah. Same with the Clippers. I'd be interested in the Clippers game. And I also wouldn't want the person in charge to say, "Oh, that's just a Clippers game. Just forget about that." Yeah. So just downplay it. Yeah. What do you think, EC3? Do you think that was a fair assessment, though, as far as AEW beating NXT and as far as just downplaying Tony Khan, feeling so happy about beating NXT out of Wednesday nights?
Well, first off, I hate any braggadocious claims of victory in a artificially unrecognizable, unrelegated, not a real war. So, yeah, we beat him. We got you're not claiming scalps. You don't have a true victory over anything other than maybe better numbers that are all speculation anyway, based on an outdated rating systems. So I don't know. I know you mentioned when we were off the air saying that did Triple H treat NXT as a developmental system when I was there, and I would say no. When I was there, it was probably a little different, but that was Triple H's child, so he treated it as such. He loved every bit of it. He loved doing tapings within an hour in that old school feel. He loved takeovers and selling out buildings and having just a raucous environment, and that wasn't developmental. That was something else to him at that time. I do feel like
more alternative than developmental. What you say?
In a sense, yeah. But the talent is not developmental as much as unique to that niche market, and right. I'm there, so it's cool. But when I left, and then AEW happens, and NXT goes to the USA Network, I almost feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but Vince wanted to go against AEW, and then at that point, Vince was being more hands-on, and Kevin Dunn were more hands-on with NXT, and it kind of pulled Triple H away from it to then, hey, we need to fight this war against this guy here with your army, and there's nothing he could do about it but just go, I mean, all right. And so it wasn't probably the same for him. So in hindsight, maybe it's almost not a direct shot at AEW, but a direct shot at what Vince and Kevin may have taken from him. And maybe had I still had the reins and I was cooking my product the proper way, that, yeah, we would have kicked their ass too.
Now this is a free for all. Do either one of you even think that Vince McMahon even cared about AEW?
Yeah, he cares about anything that's probably competitive in any sense. He probably they probably want to kill CYN before it starts. So welcome back, Adam. No, but like to have anything when you're the top dog and there's ever even the minor threat, like even if it's an anthill that you just have to stomp on, well, why would you do that? Because it doesn't matter if I do it or I don't. But I know I won't ever see these ants again. Stomp. All right.
Do you think Vince cared about WCW working with him in the 90s, Vince?
I know he didn't. He didn't care about them. Nah, bro. He didn't care about them until he looked up and they were beating him in the ratings. Then they got his attention. Up until that point, not at all. Not at all.
The thing is, too, though, you are so much better with competition. You're so much better, especially when you're being chased, and you're so much better when you get outran and you realize these people can't outrun me. Are you kidding? This? No. And then you really buckle down. So,
so EC3 working at NXT, how hands off, really? I guess, I mean, I want to say hands on, but really it's really hands off. How hands on was Vince in any creative decision, any veto power, any type of influence whatsoever when it came to NXT? Or was that 100% Triple H's baby?
Zero. I think the only thing Vince had power was, hey, we need some fresh bodies because these numbers are down, or that guy intrigued me because I saw him in an elevator when I was coming up the elevator and he had a unique look, so we needed him. I even think the call-up that I think it was Lars, Sullivan, myself, Otis, probably Tucker too. I forget who else. But like when they called us,
Alexander come up around that time too.
Lacey Evans was involved. But everybody, when we all got called up, it really came out of nowhere, and we think it was mostly because I think they got really bad ratings for 2 weeks. And like, we need an influx of something, but they had no intention or idea of who we were or what we were doing or what we were about. So it's almost like, here are 5 or 6 people, Vince, and then he sees one thing and he has no idea any of our body of work. But like, this, maybe this, we'll make this guy do this, and then there's no hindsight, there's no thought, there's no continuity from who we were to where we were going. We were just thrown in the fray, and for some it worked. For some, now he's hosting a podcast.